afternoon to you and happy Friday. How are you doing? Lovely to see all of you real entrepreneurs. We are going to have a great session today. Got a great topic for you. Difficult conversations, negotiating, how to manage different people. So I'm going to wait for a few more of you to join, and whilst I do that, please have a think about any difficult conversations that you have had in the past, or maybe some that you are avoiding. So, good afternoon and happy Friday to you. Has it been a good week? Thank you very much for joining. How are we doing today? Great topic, as I say, today. Greetings from Dubai. Tell me where in the world you are. Give me a little bit of a wave so that I know who you are and where you are, and how you are, most importantly. So, middle of March. Tell me, has the spring come to wherever you are? How is your family? How's your business? How's your team? Give me a wave, give me a thumbs up or a hello. Drop me a little comment so I know. I can see some people are watching, but can't necessarily see all your names. Hey Rob, is that Julie I saw joining there? How are you? I hope things are doing great wherever you are. Thank you for joining. So, how has this week been for you? In the UK, we are coming out of lockdown, so how are you feeling about that? How are things wherever you are? How are you dealing with the transition if you are coming out of lockdown? Let me know what you've been working on this week as well. Has it been a good one? I've had a really great week, actually. It's really difficult to explain if you're not a diver just how amazing diving with huge sharks is. But if you are interested, even from a I'd love to see that, but I never want to do it myself, which is totally fine, then do head over to my personal Facebook wall. If we're not already friends on Facebook, then do connect with me and you will find lots of photos and videos of the beautiful, amazing, awe-inspiring tiger sharks that we spent last week diving with. Business also going really well. I've been approached by a company who runs an accelerator program for startups in the automotive sector, and we are going to be doing some work over this summer and into the autumn. So yeah, from a business perspective, doing really well. Thank you to all of you who have referred friends or colleagues to me. I really do appreciate it. I've taken on 2 new clients this week, and also added a couple of people to the waiting list now for my one-to-one coaching services. Lots of new joiners to this community. Welcome to each and every one of you. I'm absolutely passionate about serving you and giving you lots of great value in these weekly lives. So however busy I get, this is an absolutely key moment of my week. I will continue to give a lot of time and energy to this community because I want you to know that you're not alone. Being an entrepreneur can be a lonely roller coaster ride, and I want you to know that you're not alone. I'm also going to start doing weekly Ask Me Anything sessions in this group, so do keep your questions coming, and I'm going to be setting up a weekly slot to get them answered for you. I can see also that several of you have booked in a clarity call for next week, so I'm really looking forward to speaking with each and every one of you that have booked those calls. If you'd like to get past your blockers, take that next step in your business, then do book in a call with me and let's give you a good old dose of clarity. I allocate a few slots each week that I make available for these calls. They're absolutely free, no pressure. It's all about you and helping you get past whatever is blocking you. So grab your slot now. You can find the link in the pinned post at the top of this group. So that's what I've been up to. What about you? How have you been? How is your family? How's your business? How's your team? Nice to see a few more people coming in now. I think we're going to have a really great session today. One of my favourite topics, all about dealing with different kinds of people and negotiating, and how to have some of those difficult conversations. So I hope that you are doing well. I know it's a busy time for many of you. I hope that you and your business are thriving. If you're not, then that's okay, of course. Please let me know what support you are not alone. So last week we were looking at success in business and how success looks different for each and every one of us. And I shared with you the link between values and drivers and how they really determine how you, each and every one of you, judge success for yourself and your business. If you didn't get a chance to watch that live last week, then you can find a recording in the group's units, which are now called guides. There are 4 guides in this group. There's a welcome guide with some information about me and about this community. And then there's 3 guides filled with resources and all the lives dated back to when we started this community all the way back in June 2019. There's Simplify Your Business with loads of hints and tips on how to make life easier for yourself, how to organize your time and how to focus on what's important. Then there's Grow Your Business, in which is all about client acquisition, scaling and managing people. And finally, there is Enjoy Your Business, which is focusing on you and your role and how to ensure that the business that you're building continues to delight and inspire you. What we really don't want is you falling out of love with your business. We need to have some fun and enjoy what we're doing along the way. So, as you know, I tend to take my cues from you in terms of what you would find helpful for me to cover during these weekly live sessions every week, Friday at 12 noon UK time. And sometimes maybe I might read something or reflect on a past experience and take my learnings from that to share with you. Often I share things from my book and also what I'm working with my clients on. But most often these lives actually come from conversations, questions and requests that I get from this community. So let me know, where are you stuck? What questions do you have? What challenges are you facing? This week's live is based on several different conversations that I've had over the last few weeks. 2 sets of negotiations between an employer and members of their team, a manager trying to figure out how to hold his people accountable, 2 co-founders realizing that the agreement that they made at the start of their journey isn't really working for them anymore, someone who is wondering why they keep attracting a certain type or a certain kind of person into their lives, and someone who finds it really hard to say no. And so today I'm going to blend together all of my learnings from those various conversations, and I'm going to tackle the topic of how to deal with difficult conversations, and I'm also going to give you some tips on negotiating. So strap in, it's going to be a lot of information and lots of questions, I'm sure, and I hope that you enjoy what I'm wanting to share with you today. So the bottom line is that dealing with people can be hard, right? Whether you're directly managing people, trying to get suppliers to do what you need them to do, negotiating or having a challenge with a client or a colleague. Today's live is designed to give you some things to think about, but also some actions that you can take today. I'm going to share my simple method with you. You know me, I like to keep things simple. But first of all, let's talk about how and why these situations, these difficult conversations, how do they arise and why do they arise? As we've discussed many times before, we are all wired very differently. And this means that we all see the world through our own unique pair of spectacles. It also means that we communicate and we learn in many varied ways, and we approach problem solving, communication and conflict situations from very different perspectives. And although what I'm telling you there is nothing new, you know this, right? We intellectually, of course, we all understand what I've just said to you. That's not rocket science, but we are all human beings. We are all creatures of emotion. And so our differences can make us feel awkward. They can make us feel uncomfortable. And then when you layer on top of that cultural differences, some cultures are much more comfortable with being direct, while others are famously reserved or maybe even deferential. And so dealing with people is hard. How do you get people to take ownership? How do you hold them accountable? How do you negotiate? And how do you deal with difficult or uncomfortable conversations? I firmly believe and I know that we bring situations and people into our lives so that we can learn. That might sound a little bit strange, but please bear with me, just hear me out. Have you ever noticed patterns in your life? Relationships that have started out so differently but ended with similar challenges? A series of bad bosses or difficult colleagues? The same kinds of people showing up in your life? Similar problems or challenges? The same types of conversations? From many experiences in my own life, but also from coaching others, both formally since I got certified as a coach, but also for many, many years before I even realised that I was a coach. What I know to be true is that if we do not learn from situations, then they are bound to repeat themselves. If you walk away from a relationship without learning what you need to learn, you will find a way to bring the same challenges into a new relationship. If you don't have that difficult conversation, if you avoid it, then it will keep presenting itself to you. How can that be? That sounds strange, right? When I say that, it's not your fault that you've had a series of bad bosses or difficult employees, is it? I'm not talking about blame here, I'm really not. What I'm saying is that it's really easy to look at the other person and see their faults and how difficult they are making things. But the real important question is, what about you? You see, the common denominator between all of those difficult conversations, those difficult bosses, those challenging relationships, all those different employees or colleagues, the common denominator is you. And we can only take responsibility for our own actions. So in every single situation, however unjust, however unfair, however painful it may be, a really, really good question, sometimes hard question, but a really good question to ask is, what do I need to learn from this? Before I walk away, have I done everything I need to do? Experienced everything I need to experience so that I don't find a way to bring it back into my life? Because you surely will. That single one question will help you focus on you, your actions and your choices, rather than from a position of powerlessness, focusing on everyone else and what they are doing to you. This is about owning your power, your actions, and most importantly, your choices. Okay, so how do we have these difficult conversations? Much has been written on this topic, and we even have our own expert in this community, the gentleman by the name of Rob McFun, who actually runs a business called Perfecting Conversations, and he's all about how to have difficult conversations. But you know me, I like to keep things really simple, and so what I'm going to share with you today is how I handle things, but also what I advise my clients to try. Okay, so you're having a conversation and it's getting challenging. Maybe an appraisal where the other person is pushing back, a team meeting where a couple of people are disagreeing in a way that's turning a bit kind of uncomfortable or awkward, a negotiation that's maybe going off the rails, getting a bit emotional. There are some scenarios, but you all know what kind of conversations I'm talking about. I could add in some kind of personal romantic relationship examples here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on the business side of things and let you apply this logic to your own different situations. So just take a minute to think about such a situation, a difficult conversation, maybe one that you've already been involved in, or maybe one that you are avoiding. So picture the scene if it's already happened. Remember, how did you feel? Or if you are avoiding this conversation, what are you afraid of? What do you fear it's going to feel like? What are you avoiding effectively? Now, if you think about a situation, a conversation, a difficult conversation that you've already been involved in, now I want to look at, now you've got that clear in your head, now I want to look at what did you do? What did you do in that situation? Let's look at what most people do in these types of situations. So generally speaking, in my experience, what we do when we are faced with an uncomfortable situation, an awkward conversation, we do one of two things. We get emotional and walk away, or more commonly, particularly in business scenarios, we ignore the discomfort. We just pretend it's not happening, right? So we continue with the appraisal or the team meeting or the negotiation. We don't really know what else to do, and so we ignore the elephant in the room that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger every moment that passes. Yeah? Am I right or am I wrong? That's what we mostly do, right? We just kind of pretend it's not happening, particularly in a business context. And so you know what? The other person or people also are likely to ignore it. So now you have a kind of a bizarre two-level conversation, right? There's the conversation that you're actually having, and then there's what's actually happening, the bit that you're all ignoring. And so my very simple solution, and I know it sounds very simple to say this, is to stop ignoring the elephant in the room and instead talk about it. I'm going to use an appraisal as an example, but this works in many other types of conversations, both business and personal. So let me just pause here for a second. I'm sensing some tension between us, am I right? The first step is to make an observation. You must own it. Do not say, "Why are you getting upset?" Do not accuse the other person. Do not tell them how they are feeling. People really hate being told how they are feeling. Instead, take ownership and express how you are feeling. I'm getting a bit uncomfortable about this conversation. How about you? So the second part of this is a question. You're inviting the other person to give their view, their opinion, their thoughts. Effectively, you're inviting them to join the new conversation, this other level. This conversation is now about how your other conversation was going or is going. We've moved to a different level now. I hope that's clear. I hope I've explained that clearly. So we make an observation without any judgment, and we say it from our perspective, and then we invite the other person to comment. So effectively, we're holding up a mirror. We're saying, this is how I'm seeing this scenario. How are you seeing it? Now, there is always a possibility that they will just simply refuse to engage. No, everything is totally fine. Thank you very much. So what I would personally do in this situation is try again. I don't just try once, I will try again. It seems to me that this conversation is actually not going fine. You've got your arms crossed and you're answering me in very sort of short, curt sentences. Is everything okay? Or maybe, I know that I'm giving you some challenging feedback, but I really want this to be an opportunity for you to learn and develop your skills. I believe that you are capable of doing a much better job. What do you think? So what we're trying to do is to get the other person to engage. If they agree that things are awkward, you can invite them to work with you to make things less awkward. So now you're in this together. Having a conversation about what is actually happening rather than continuing with the original discussion is always a good thing to do if you do it right, even if the other person refuses to engage. And that does happen from time to time. At least you've tried, yeah? At least you've acknowledged the tension or the awkwardness, at least you've acknowledged it. I hope that makes sense. Please do shout if you've got any questions or comments. I'd love to know your thoughts on whether or not you've tried to do that and how that's worked for you. Not always easy to do that. In fact, it can feel really uncomfortable. But it is always better when you have acknowledged the elephant in the room. However uncomfortable that is, it lets the tension go. Even if the other person doesn't want to play, even if the other person refuses to engage, you will feel better because that elephant that has been going la 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 in the corner will stop doing that as much, because at least you've said, well, look, I think this is awkward, even if the other person is not willing to engage. So try it. Honestly, it will make you feel better. And there's always a chance, hopefully, that they will engage if you do it in the right way, non-judgmentally. So I would like to talk a little bit now about negotiation and offer you my top 10 tips for better negotiation. A successful negotiation is one where both parties feel that the outcome is fair, but that is easier said than done. Very few people actually like to negotiate. Many of us will kind of shy away from it, fearing that that conversation will be challenging and sort of instinctively avoiding any situation that might make us feel uncomfortable. But negotiation, the reality is that negotiation is something that we do every single day and have done since the moment we could talk, or maybe even you could argue even before we could talk. So, we've all been doing it a very long time, and yet instinctively many of us don't really feel comfortable with it. And what needs to happen is we need to change our view of negotiation, because what we need to understand is that in life we don't get what we deserve, we get what we negotiate. But negotiations don't have to be tense and unpleasant. They really don't. They're actually much more about communicating effectively rather than kind of competing with each other. Successful negotiations actually require both parties to put themselves in the other person's chair, if you like, and not only seeing things from their perspective, but actually prioritizing getting a win for them. That's what is required for a successful negotiation to happen. So here are my top 10 tips to help you negotiate better. So focus on achieving a win-win outcome. A successful negotiation is always one where both of you, as I say, walk away feeling like it's fair and it's equitable. So absolutely focus on achieving a win-win outcome. Ask open questions and listen carefully. What you're trying to do is understand what the other person wants. And so my third tip is really to prioritize that. Yeah. So the earlier in the negotiation that you can really, really understand what the other person wants, the better the negotiation will go. Number 4, ignore emotional statements or big, bold, extrapolations or exaggerations or, that's fine. Your job is to keep your tone respectful and to keep emotion out of this. Plan for the worst, but always expect the best. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that the higher the expectations are from both parties and the more willing they are to really have high expectations from the negotiation, the more likely it is to be a successful negotiation. So plan for the worst, but always expect the best. Never give without getting something in return. In a positive way, we're talking about win-win here, but don't move without a quid pro quo, if you like. So that's what a negotiation is all about, right? So balance is very important, and having a consciousness around balance, I think is important, not just in negotiation, but in many, many scenarios. If you are talking about numbers, do not use ranges or estimates. So if you're talking about a price and you say it's between £500 and £750, automatically the other person is going to shoot for the 500, right? So don't give ranges, don't give estimates. Any numbers you put out there will become part of that negotiation. So if you're not sure, if you're not clear enough to give an exact number or figure, then ask questions until you are clear enough. Don't give those ranges. Don't fudge it. Yeah, just ask questions. If you're not clear, don't fudge. Ask questions until you are clear. Harness the power of silence. Silence makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and you can use that to your advantage in a negotiation by harnessing the power of silence. So don't talk so much. Listen, ask open questions, and then let the other person talk. Use time and space to your advantage, because negotiations often make us feel uncomfortable. We want to we want to hurry through them, appraisals or difficult conversations or negotiations. Often people just want to hurry through them. And actually, that's not a good strategy at all. Much better to take it slowly, use time and space. If things are going off the rails, or if people are getting emotional, just take a break. Use time and space to your advantage. Swallow any fear that you might have and seize control by making the first offer. Again, lots of research suggests that the person that puts an offer out there has more control and influence over the negotiation. So, all of this stuff about, if I put a price out there, maybe I could have got better, all of that. It's not really borne out. In fact, most people are quite savvy and aware of, pricing. Pricing's often the one where people don't want to go first. And there's this myth that if you go first, you lose. And for a start, we shouldn't be thinking about a negotiation as a win-lose, but rather as a win-win. But also, if you put your number out there, put a high number out there. If you're the seller, for goodness sake, put a decent number out there that you're happy with. But putting an offer out there means that you are taking control of the situation. You've put something out there, and then the other person is having to respond to you. And number 10, enjoy the process. If you go into it thinking this is going to be difficult, this is going to be awful, this is going to be tense, uncomfortable, etc., be careful what you wish for, right? So try and enjoy the process. It's about communicating. If you focus in the negotiation on making sure that the other person gets an amazing result from this negotiation, whilst also honouring what you want, what an amazing position to be in, and an enjoyable conversation rather than a challenging or awkward one. Negotiation is absolutely a skill that can be learned, but the bottom line really is that negotiation skills are communication skills. They're really, negotiation skills, if you like, is a subset of communication skills. And as you know, communication is one of the most important things in terms of running and growing a business, building a business. So do let me know your questions, your comments. How do you negotiate, and how do you deal with difficult conversations? I would love to know. Also, what is your next step in life? What's your next step in business? What do you need to make you feel more confident? Book in a clarity call, and let's get you moving past whatever is blocking your progress and on to that next challenge. There's always a next challenge. So before I close up today, I want to give you some next steps, some really concrete things that I suggest you do as a result of today's live. So number 1, spend some time thinking about what kinds of conversations you're avoiding. You've avoided in the past, and you might still be avoiding. Try and think about those patterns that I was talking about. What are those things that you naturally kind of shy away from? Number 2, think about how could you use what I've shared with today to make those conversations less uncomfortable. And number 3, you know where I'm going with this, right? Choose one that is still current and get on and have the conversation. And do let me know how you get on. I'm going to close up today's live with 2 quotes about negotiation. Firstly, from the late, great Nelson Mandela. Nothing is so deep that it cannot be overcome, given the will of all parties through discussions and negotiations rather than force and violence. Or you could add in there emotion. And my second quote is from Peter Drucker, who was an Australian author and educator. The most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. So what are you not hearing? By avoiding the elephant in the room, what are you not learning? Before you can move on, you need to learn, or you'll just end up repeating the same painful, uncomfortable conversation, relationship, situation all over again. Trust me, I know. Decide what's really important to you and stick to it. Building a business is tough. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. Building a business is tough. It can be a long, hard, lonely road. Make sure that you are building something that is really meaningful to you, that will sustain you through the tough times. And be really intentional. Say no to things that don't serve you and the goal that you want to achieve. And as I pass back over to you, as I do every week, that is really what I want you to take from today. What is the outcome that you seek? What is the result? What is the goal? Put your energy into getting really clear about that. But allow yourself to do things your way. Yes, by all means, learn from me and from other people. But when you synthesize that learning, when you bring it inside of you, what comes out must be congruent with you. It must work for you. If you want to build a big empire, then fantastic, go for it. But if you want to just do your thing, then that's okay too. Focus on listening to yourself and allow yourself what you need so that you can spend more time in your flow. And don't forget that the opposite of flow is friction. And so if things aren't really working, then please take a step back and focus on getting some clarity. Get some objective input, hire the services of a business coach, take some time to look at what you're doing and where an easier path would start from and lead to. Ask yourself, what would a business that really works for me look like? What would that look like? Let me know your thoughts and questions on this or any other topic relating to how to simplify, grow and enjoy your business. What area of business would you like me to speak about next? I am so enjoying this very special year and supporting all of you through these challenging times, but so many opportunities there for you and your business. If you haven't already claimed your free copy of my book, The Real Entrepreneur, you can go to therealentrepreneurbook.com. That's for a free paperback copy, or if you prefer Audible or Kindle, then you can find those on Amazon. Do check out the accountability section of my book for much more on dealing with people. Get the foundations right and you can build from there. I really hope that you have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing and whoever you're doing it with. I wish you a really happy and peaceful time. And as always, if you want to talk, then you know where I am. Please remember to be where you are in the journey. You don't need to know it all and you definitely don't have to do it all. Take care, stay safe and keep in touch. Bye for now.